Welcome back to the castle, everyone. This is Nightsaber Z42, and this is part 2 of 8 Petals Argent, a solo adventure using the D&D 5e rule set. I play the role of Monterey and just about everyone else in this adventure, but Monterey is a halfling barbarian who previously left Waterdeep to try his luck at being an adventurer. When that didn't pan out, he returned. He is fairly hot-tempered, and I actually rather think it's funny to have a little halfling going around, raging and cursing at everyone else. Previously, Monterey, the halfling barbarian, travels to Waterdeep to meet with old friends who are planning some sort of big stakes heist. He tags along with Bell in an attempt to go around outside the city and climb the steep cliffs that will get him inside a mausoleum. On their way outside, they are chased by a rival gang, no thanks to Bell, and outside the city, they meet a traveling troupe that turns out to be a band of bandits, also no thanks to Bell, or at least according to Monterey. Monterey and Bell put on a performance, entrancing the bandits in disguise, only to make a clean getaway. At the cliffs, Monterey decides to take it upon himself to climb up through the slick portion, only to fall. You lose your grip and fall, unable to catch yourself or arrest your descent, bouncing off the rough stone of the cliff face and landing in shallow water. And we take 1d6 bludgeoning damage. Oh yay. Happy days already. So, it's actually half though, because we did fall in some water. So, hey, I rolled a 2, so I only take 1 point of damage, which will take away one of my temporary hit points, so I'm at 4 now. So, you stand up in the water and contemplate the challenge you are facing. Well, don't really want to ask Belle to go up there. She'll probably just kind of fudge it. And let's be honest, Monterey probably has a better stake in this one than she does. He'll definitely want to take it upon himself. Although we are being rushed, if I remember correctly. There are people that are chasing us, so. But then again, Monterey is hot-tempered, so he's just going to repeat the same thing. We're going to try the center route again. You climb the shortest route, directly up toward the drain pipe. The cliff face is slippery, wet from droplets spraying from the stream of falling water and covered in slick moss. We don't have a climbing speed, so we're going to take disadvantage again. We don't have a climber's kit. Although, doesn't a explorer's pack have a climber's kit? It doesn't say. And that would actually be listed in my inventory, too. Oh, that's unfortunate. That is very unfortunate. So we're going to go ahead and roll athletics with a disadvantage. We get another 11. Of course. Of course. We lost our grip, and of course, Monterey falls all the way back down into the shallow pool yet again. We take another point of damage, because I rolled another 2, and as his head pops up from the water, he looks around and he sees Belle pantomiming some sort of a laugh. She doesn't say anything because, well, Monterey has never heard her say anything or make any sound. So she's just kind of silently laughing and pointing at him. Yeah, well, if you're such hot stuff, why don't you go and do it? So we're going to let Belle take it over this time. In the time you've known Belle, you've never seen her scale something like this. She's clearly experienced at such climbs. Belle jumps to the first handhold and pulls herself up effortlessly, hand over hand, despite wearing armor and other heavy equipment. As Belle climbs, you keep a lookout for anyone approaching. In the darkness, you see one of the cows moving towards you. It is a large bull, unhappy about your presence. Some of the other cows, affected by the bull's agitation, begin lowing in that deep sound characteristic to annoyed cattle. Worried by the bull's continued approach, you look back to check Belle's progress. Fortunately, she has already reached the pipe and secured the rope. She drops the other end of the heavy coil and you hurry toward it to start your ascent. You climb the hempen rope without difficulty. You are soon at the top and Belle is helping you into the drain pipe. What looks small from the ground is actually a large enough pipe for you to stand almost fully erect within. You pull up the rope quickly as Belle unties the knot. The two of you move fully into the pipe before Belle stops to coil the rope across her torso again. Yeah, well, I could have done that. It was just, you see, it was something was in my eye the entire time, and I had to scratch my eye, and of course, can't climb with one hand, and So I fell like twice. It happened to both eyes, so that's why I fell twice. With Bell in the lead, the two of you proceed down the long pipe into the darkness beneath Waterdeep. The water quickly soaks your feet as it moves along the bottom of the pipe, running in the opposite direction. Belle lights one of her torches so that Monterey can see. You find it hard to measure time passing inside this long tunnel. You think 10 minutes have gone by when you come to the first intersection. A heavy iron gate blocks the side passage. You can only continue forward, but you stop a moment to look as far past the grate as you can. The side tunnel looks no different than the one you are in, feeding a trickle of water into the flow that washes past you. Another few minutes on, you encounter something lumpy in the water. A quick inspection reveals a decayed corpse. You wonder how long ago this human died. Above the corpse, a fluffy patch of mold emits a terrible odor. Monterey bends down and checks to examine the corpse with a medicine check, and he rolls a 6. Not enough. As you continue up the tunnel, you find several more corpses. One is stuck to the tunnel wall with webbing. The others appear to have been previously webbed but have fallen into the drainage streaming past your feet. Traces of smelly mold grow over every bit of webbing you find. The webs and the corpses are making Belle nervous. She signs danger and bear cave while pointing farther up the tunnel. It's unlikely that these people were exploring the pipe when they died. More likely, a monster lives here, something strong enough to drag bodies up the cliff and into its lair. You contemplate abandoning your quest. Ha! Never! You don't want to fight something in these tight confines, and anything that can handle fully grown humanoids like these corpses is likely to be a deadly challenge to your own abilities. Ha! Also unlikely. I fight bears and eat them for breakfast. However, you know that Rufio and Latchboy are more likely to succeed if you meet up with them, and you don't want to be scared off by the unnamed threat that you have yet to even see. We're going to proceed further down the tunnel using Belle's light source. If we had dark vision, we could of course see inside, but we do not. You come to a circular chamber with tunnels in 4 directions. Water flows into the chamber from 3 of the tunnels, and it trickles in from a hole in the ceiling. The tunnel you are in appears to be the only outlet for the flowing water. An iron ladder hangs down a few feet from the hole above the chamber. The 2 side passages are narrow, blocked by heavy grates, but the tunnel beyond appears to be passable, though curtained off by fluffy moss growing in dangling strands. Something large is moving between the mossy ropes in the opposite tunnel, retreating from your light source. Belle signs to identify the ladder as your objective. This is the route that will take you up to the runoff channels for the City of the Dead. However, to get to it, you will have to come perilously close to the creature lurking nearby. Seeing that the mossy webs in the opposite tunnels are laden with spores, Belle suggests setting one of her clockwork toys amongst them to agitate the strands. The resulting spore cloud might provide cover while you run for the ladder. However, if the cloud extends into the chamber, it might prove toxic. So we can either rush for the ladder or we could use Belle's clockwork toy. And Monterey's not so convinced that auto mechanicals are the way to go. So, of course, he's going to take it upon himself to rush for the ladder, taking all of his courage with him. So that's what he's going to do. He's going to rush and climb the ladder, hoping that he can get there before the creature. You signal Belle to run. The 2 of you sprint into the chamber. Belle makes an amazing leap to reach the ladder, and you jump to follow her. Just then, a humanoid figure emerges from the opposite tunnel. The creature gnashes its thick little mandibles and vents a hissing scream. It sweeps a spindly arm through some strands of moss and hurls the fluffy ropes at you. They explode against the ceiling of the chamber, creating a cloud of spores around the iron ladder. I'm gonna have to roll initiative. Alright, look at that. Our first combat. We rolled. The cloud of spores catches you as you climb. An unspeakable smell accompanies the spores. As they cling to you, your worry about their toxicity seems well founded. Make a Constitution saving throw. I can definitely do that. With a natural 20. We got a 24 as a result. You climb the wet rungs of the iron ladder, moving as quickly as you can to escape the billowing cloud of spores beneath you. The stench is unbearable. As you climb, you realize you won't be able to come back this way. You'll have to find another way of the City of the Dead once your mission is complete. Eventually, you see the glow of starlight from above. You exit from a pipe that rises from the center of a large pond extending about an inch above the surface. The two of you wade to shore and assess your surroundings. You are amidst the 5 mausoleums that encircle the lowest point in the City of the Dead. All the rainwater in the district eventually drains here into a large pond. An overflow shaft allows excess water from the pond to fall into a drainage pipe far below where it channels out of the city. Under a nearby bush, a picnic blanket lies discarded next to some empty bottles and a broken basket. Deep in this park-like area, you are not in sight of any of the paths that crisscross the district. You recognize the largest, northernmost mausoleum in this area as the Merchant's Rest, a tomb reserved for those who can afford burial in its luxury. From what you can remember of the City of the Dead, this mausoleum is right across from your destination, the House of the Homeless, the 2 buildings separated by a single pathway. With your goal almost in sight, you head north into the shadow of the Merchant's Rest. North of the mausoleum, you find an east-west passageway across from which stands the House of the Homeless. You wait for a long time, looking each direction, watchful for anyone who might walk by. On your left, the path goes directly to the west gate of the district, and you can see the well-lit watchtowers aiming the beams of their oversized lanterns down into the wards on either side of the gate. On your right, you see the flicker of a torch in the distance, and you can hear a conversation, people not trying to hide their voices. However, the lights from both directions fail to reach the place where you intend to cross the path. As you wait, you hear the sudden clash of weapons. An open battle has broken out just east of you. To the south, in what may be a separate conflict, you hear distant cries punctuated by a long note blown on a watch horn. The normally quiet cemetery district is quite active tonight. Amidst these distractions, you move north, slipping across the path and hurrying up the steps into the House of the Homeless. 4 broad steps lead up to the open doorway of the mausoleum. The House of the Homeless is completely unguarded. You enter a large room ringed by tall open windows, its center dominated by a wide staircase that descends into the catacombs. Around the walls of this room, dozens of small altars and shrines stand sentinel, representing various gods, beggar societies, and other factions of the poor who end up buried here. Because so many of the dead are nameless, or their final resting plots are uncatalogued, mourners simply leave their flowers, letters, incense, and other offerings on whichever of the altars suits them. Very few mourners descend the tunnels into the catacombs, or pass through the portals below into the demiplane itself. Safely within the mausoleum, you sit down to rest, waiting for the other team to arrive. You wait for about half an hour, and you're about to press on without your other friends, when a silent figure walks up the stairs to the doorway and ducks inside. It's Rufio, and he's alone. Everything's fine, Rufio says before you can ask. We just ran into a bit of trouble. Something important that only needed one of us to manage. I'm headed back to help, but I wanted to come ahead to let you two know to proceed without us. We'll meet you here if we don't catch up. Rufio doesn't give an explanation or wait for a response. He simply turns and disappears into the night.
Well, more loot for us then, eh, Bell?
Monterey is going to turn and head down the stairs into the catacombs. We won't bother investigating anything here. That's just not his thing. So he doesn't care about the gods or goddesses or their shrines here. The stairs end at the start of a wide hallway with several interesting features. Torches built into the walls gutter and sputter with heatless, ever-burning flames. Massive wooden beams reinforce this underground passage, built into the walls and braced across the ceiling. Bare funerary alcoves on either side of you give the hall an echoing, empty feel. 4 narrow side passages lead away from the main hall, but these are roped off and have polite signs forbidding access. An iron archway stands at the main hall's far end. The Archmage Anacaster built this fixture and other portals like it in nearby mausoleums 1,000 years ago to relieve overcrowding in the City of the Dead. The opaque energy that fills the archway will transport mourners to a demiplane of endless underground catacombs. The grave tenders long ago removed all the bones and cremation jars from the alcoves, moving them to new resting places in the demiplane beyond that portal. You take a moment to be sure you are remembering your next steps correctly. Then the two of you duck under a rope that blocks a side passage, continuing about 20 feet to a dead end. There are no torches here, but some flickering light from the main hall illuminates an ornate grate built over a shaft in the floor. Iron posts near the hole are the only remnant of the lifting apparatus that once lowered visitors to the fourth layer of the catacombs. You find the 10-foot grate to be surprisingly light. You easily lift it from its brick frame and slide it out of the way. The shaft has a faintly musty odor. There must be stagnant water somewhere below. Wasting no time, your companion begins tying a long rope to one of the nearby iron posts. 100 feet of coiled hemp drop into the shaft, and you hear a faint sound as the rope's end hits the ground far below. Hey, well, look at that. We made it to Chapter 2, The Deep Catacombs. Light flickers in this dead-end passage, cast by the magical torches in the main hall. The rope knotted to a nearby iron post is quite visible to anyone chancing by. This wouldn't normally concern you. The City of the Dead is closed to visitors after sundown, but the degree of activity you know to be going on outside indicates that the burial district is anything but deserted tonight. Leaving the rope unattended seems like an unconscionable risk. You know of no other exit from the catacombs. Your companion agrees to stand guard while you go on alone, but warns you to get back before sunrise. You've got about 3 hours, maybe 4, any later, and there won't be time to meet the Seeker's deadline. Wasting no more time, you lower yourself onto the rope and descend into the welling darkness below. The smell of stagnant water rises to meet you. After minutes of careful climbing, your feet abruptly find the damp tunnel floor. Not a speck of light reaches you from the hole far above, but you immediately discover 2 torches and a tinderbox on a shelf within arm's reach. Well, let's just go ahead and add that to the character sheet there. You illuminate the passage, finding yourself in a long tunnel. It looks exactly as you expected. Ancient timber supports line the passage along either side. Their preservative spells don't seem as well maintained as those in the tunnels above. Most show signs of rot or on any portion not covered by moss. Crumbling brickwork appears here and there, its flaking mortar making you doubt the structural integrity of the passage. The center of the floor contains a tiny stream fed from leaks in the cracked walls. In the distance, you see where the water has formed a pond, blocking part of a 4-way intersection. As above, burial alcoves appear on either side of the tunnel. These are also empty. The corpses long ago moved to the expansion in the drier demiplane for which the House of the Homeless is now well known. Despite these tunnels being long abandoned, colorful graffiti covers every wall and dusty refuse litters the floor. The area is not well trafficked, but neither is it completely unknown to trespassers. You pick your way past the abandoned ration packages, rusty furniture components, empty paint pots, and half an old military saddle to approach the flooded intersection. To your right and left, graffiti-marked tunnels extend farther than you can see. However, your interest is in what lies beyond the pool, the opposite passage where the tunnel has collapsed. You wade across and climb the pile of rocks on the far side, finding just enough space to crawl over the caved-in rubble. Beyond, the passage shows no sign of trespassers coming this far. A few feet of brackish water cover the floor, and the end of the passageway descends rough-cut stairs into a fully flooded stretch of the catacombs. You douse the torch and prepare yourself to get very wet. Alright, here is something a little bit interesting, at least in this adventure. So we are going to track time during this chapter in 1-minute intervals. And so I start with 1 minute, and basically anything I do that is time consuming activates, or when I move in between. So we add minutes, we're going to add minutes to this tally. And see, basically it's like, I guess it's like a time tracker where we get to add in stuff. We can also take a short rest, and we will have to make a stealth check and then refer to a table. I've noted the page so I can get there rather quickly. We're going to add 1 minute to the interval time, and we're going to proceed further. You find yourself in a winding north-south passage that extends over 100 feet in length. The water in this passage is 10 feet deep, leaving only about a foot of space between the surface and the ceiling. You can swim through this water, or just bob along, pushing yourself up to the surface if you need to take a breath. In the walls are 7 catacomb alcoves, each stacked to the ceiling with linen-wrapped skeletons. At the south end of the passage are 2 wider alcoves, each shaped for a horizontal sarcophagus cut from the stone itself. Unfortunately, since we're swimming, our torch is going to go out. We don't have dark vision. We cannot search any of the alcoves because we don't have dark vision, so we're saving ourselves a lot of time. So it looks like that's just gonna get skipped over by Monterey, as he just wants to get through the other side of the tunnel. The north end of this passage leads back to the catacombs entryway. The other end of the winding passage terminates towards the southeast. Rough-cut stairs rise through the water at that end as the tunnel angles upward. The ascent leads to an intersection of only waist-deep water. We're going to add 1 minute, and we're going to travel south. You are in a wet intersection, water rising above your knees. The intersection has 4 directions to it, if you count the passage that requires climbing a small cliff. To the northwest, rough-cut stairs lead downward. The tunnel descends to a point where the water is almost up to the ceiling. That passage leads back to the deep catacombs exit. To the northeast is a set of rough-cut stairs where the tunnel rises fully from the water. To the southwest is a level tunnel filled with waist-deep water. To the south, an alcove in the wall stands over 20 feet above the ground. Atop the cliff, overlooking the intersection, climbing the damp cliff to reach that ledge looks like a difficult task. So we can either go northwest to descend the stairs into the flooded passage that marks the entryway to the catacombs. We can go to the northeast to take the dry stairs. We can go southwest to follow the southwest tunnel and wade deep in water. Unfortunately, we don't have a rope or grappling hook, so we can't go to the south, although we could climb with an athletics check. Fortunately, let's see. Monterey, of course, has had some trouble in the past climbing, even though he excels in everything athletics. But I think he's going to let his hubris take over. He's going to try climbing to the south. So we're going to test athletics. No advantage or disadvantage, so it's just a straight roll this time, which is pretty good. Oh, we got a natural 1, so we immediately fall. We take 1d6 points of damage, halved because we did fall into the water. So another 1 point of damage. I'm getting really lucky on these d6 rolls, not so much on these athletic rolls. And he will, of course, he will try again. He's not gonna let this go. He's by gosh, he is going to make this climb, and he does actually make the climb with an 18. We do get to add a minute to our tracker. It's kind of really weird. It says when you successfully climb the cliff to the ledge above, add 1 minute. Although I really think this should be every attempt adds a minute. But that's just my thing, because I'm pretty sure each attempt is going to be more than a minute. Anyways, let's proceed. This rectangular chamber is 130 feet long and 40 feet wide, with 3 massive square columns across its center. The room's construction is not complete. Excavated rubble remains in the area, and the western end of the chamber hosts 3 stacks of heavy timbers, never emplaced as supports for the room. Unusual fungal formations, some several feet tall, grow around these stacks. A small dusty tent of dark canvas leans against the central pillar. A circle of rubble encloses a charred spot on the floor, the remains of a long-dead cook fire. Someone camped here long ago and left these remnants behind. The sepulchres carved in the north and south walls are unfinished. Their blank iron doors, not yet installed, sit in stacks against the eastern wall. Untidy piles of rubble and refuse litter each small chamber. In the southern wall on the west end, a broad, natural alcove hosts more of the strange fungi, forming a garden of these growths. We can search these sepulchres, or you can search any of these open sepulcher rooms by adding 1 minute for each one searched. I don't think it's really beneficial, so I think he's just going to proceed further. One of the sepulchres cut into the southern wall is not truly a room, but instead enters a passageway that bends to the southwest, proceeding down some rough stairs into the submerged area. In the northern wall on the west end, an alcove opens onto a ledge overlooking a watery intersection. We can investigate the camp. We can approach the ledge to the northwest, or we could take the passage going to the southwest. Let's actually take a moment to investigate the camp. Despite the age of the tent, the canvas is well preserved by a foul-smelling alchemical treatment commonly used to make such materials waterproof. Inside, you find the worm-eaten remains of a bedroll, dozens of molded food packets, and a pile of rags that were once clothes. Among the remains of the clothes, you find a heavy book and a scroll tube. The book looks impervious to decay, but most of its pages have been torn out. The scroll tube holds a key with a sun symbol carved in it and some parchment with arcane lettering. One of the vellum pages, also undecayed, rests crumpled in a corner. You examine the writing on the book before pocketing it. We're going to take the sun key and add that to our inventory. It looks very important, by the way. It says so. Also take the enduring spellbook. We get a scroll tube. I don't know, but it seems very hard for me to say scroll tube. And it contains 2 scrolls. We get, sleep. Heck yeah. And we also get Thunderwave. Also, heck yeah. So that is all that we can do here. Monterey is not magical by any means, so he's not even going to really look at the spell book all that much. He can't identify it, I don't think. So proceeding on, we need to make a choice. We want to go to the northwest or the southwest. And I think he's going to go to the northwest. We're going to approach the ledge at the end of the chamber, and that's going to add 1 minute of our time here. You are in an intersection of 4 directions, atop a cliff overlooking a wet passage area. To the northwest, rough-cut stairs lead downward. The tunnel descends to a point where the water is almost up to the ceiling. You recognize that passage as leading back to the deep catacombs exit. The northeast tunnel rises from the water to a set of rough-cut stairs. To the southwest is a level tunnel filled with waist-deep water. Behind you is a large room with 2 large central pillars. We can either return south the way we came in, or we can descend. And I do have a rope. I have a hempen rope, so I could use that. Okay, if you use a rope, you will have to leave it tied to a rock spur here at the top of the ledge. You can keep the rope if you also have a grappling hook, which you can shake loose of its grip after descending. Alternatively, you might have some magic like the Mage Hand cantrip that would allow you to untie the rope after descending. We are going to, unfortunately, get rid of our hempen rope. Our hempen rope is gone. You are in a wet intersection, water rising above your knees. The intersection has 4 directions to it, if you count the passage that requires climbing a small cliff. To the northwest, rough-cut stairs lead downward. The tunnel descends to a point where the water is almost up to the ceiling. That passage leads back to the deep catacombs exit. To the northeast is a set of rough-cut stairs where the tunnel rises fully from the water. To the southwest is a level tunnel filled with waist-deep water. To the south, an alcove in the wall stands over 20 feet above the ground, atop the cliff, overlooking the intersection. Climbing the damp cliff to reach the ledge looks like a difficult task. So once again, either northwest, northeast, southwest. We can go south. Monterey is going to go to the southwest. We're going to follow the southwest tunnel, and we're going to go into waist-deep water. This north-south passage bends to the northeast at its upper end. Brackish, stagnant water fills this area to the height of your waist. The tunnel includes 3 sepulchral doors. You see a symbol on each door naming some long-forgotten house or guild. If the sepulchres are still dry, opening their doors will let the water in. We can inspect and test the door, but that'll increase our interval time by 1 minute, which I don't think Monterey is really up to doing. We can go northeast and continue to follow the tunnel, or we can go south. We're going to go northeast. And, of course, this takes us back to our passageway. And Monterey is going to get a little bit confused.
Hey, I've been here before. This is that one passage.
he's going to go to the northeast to a different tunnel. The tunnel widens into a rectangular room stretching east to west. The room is 20 feet wide and 50 feet long. The air is humid and musky, filled with the smell of spores and fungi. Along the south sides of the room, 5 large wooden planter boxes hold a mix of soil, rotted compost, and strangely shaped plants and mushrooms. A stack of rusty tools lies next to one of the planters. Throughout the room, odd pieces of lumber serve as chairs between the planter boxes. Skeletons sit on the furniture, frozen in various poses and wearing an assortment of ratty clothing and hats. Some of them hold clay teacups in their bony fingers, as though in the middle of a polite conversation. Each skeleton is near an empty chair or faces an empty space where a visitor could sit or stand to spend time with each of them in turn. The room narrows at its west and east ends, turning back into a tunnel. You can exit towards the southwest through a tunnel that leads to rough-cut stairs headed downward or to the southeast. We can examine the skeletons. We could use detect. Don't want to. We don't have an herbalism kit, so we can't really do anything with the planters. We're not going to examine the tools either. We're going to go to the southwest, so that's going to add another minute of our time. And that, of course, takes us back into the tunnel, the intersection, yet again. So Monterey is actually getting a little upset that he keeps seeing the same intersection over and over again.
I've been here before.
Okay, which one haven't I done? And he points to each tunnel, trying to remember if he's actually gone through it.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Catch a tiger by his
toe. So we're gonna roll a d4 and see which way he's going. We're gonna go to the northwest.
I don't think I've been here.
And this is the winding north-south passage that extends over 100 feet in length. And there's, of course, catacombs. And so we unfortunately get rid of our torch. To the north end of this passage leads back to the catacombs entryway. The other end of the winding passage terminates towards the southeast. Rough-cut stairs rise through the water at the end of as the tunnel angles upward. So it looks like we want to go to the southeast. So we're going to add a minute and proceed further into our, surprise, surprise, our intersection.
Ah! Okay. I'm not going back there.
So that was the northwest passage.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. Eeny, meeny, mo, tiger's claw in his toe, something. I choose this one.
And he points to the northeast. So we're going to add another minute and go to the northeast. So we've been northwest and northeast. So of course he's going to start trying to remember as best he can. The northwest leads back to the intersection. So this time we're going northeast. Of course, this is the 20 feet wide by 50 feet long tunnel. He sees the same skeletons again. The planters, the tools. I believe he went to the southwest last time. So I think he's going to go to the southeast this time. You are in a T-shaped intersection, the main tunnel running from the northwest to the southeast. A thick fungus coating mires the wall, ceiling, and floor of the southeast passage. Ahead of it, someone has arranged a collection of stones in the shape of a skull, perhaps a warning about the danger of the fungus in the southeast route. In the center of the northwest to southeast tunnel, another passage branches off to the northeast, ascending a set of rough-cut stairs.
This doesn't look very good. Maybe I should avoid the skeleton face thing.
We can go northwest, northeast, or southeast here. In the center of this northwest to southeast tunnel, another passage branches off to the northeast, ascending a set of rough-cut stairs. Let's go to the northeast then. You are in an oddly formed area. The east end of this passage ends at a doorway. A dusty wooden chest sits at the end of the westward passage. A set of rough-cut stairs lead downward to the southwest. 5 catacomb alcoves cut their way into the northern and southern walls of the hallway. There are fewer linen-wrapped skeletons than usual, stacked in the last alcove on the right. The remnants of linen rags litter the floor as though someone has cut some skeletons out of their funerary wraps. We can investigate the alcove, which will add to our time. We can search thoroughly by taking more time, which I don't think we're going to do. We will examine the wooden chest. This is like the thing that Monterey has been looking forward to his entire life, is his first treasure chest. And so his eyes kind of gleam over, and he begins to saunter over to the chest.
What do we have here? Alrighty then. Looks like this chest is mine.
The simple wooden box has a hinged lid over the top. The chest has some dust on it, but not as much dust as the floor and other nearby objects. We have a passive perception score of 13, so we actually do get something else here. While examining the wooden chest, you notice that the scratches on one side form a line of crude lettering. You clear away the dust and find Ace's box there, the words looking like a child carved them. This must be something Ace uses as part of her fungus growing operation.
Well, it looks like we have found Ace's, herbs. I wonder if she has any useful herbs. We're gonna open it and add a minute to our time.
You lift back the lid of the wooden chest. Inside is a set of dirty gardening robes that look heavy enough to wear over normal clothing, a healer's kit containing herbal poultices, and 2 potions of minor healing, both labeled Thorn Prick Salve. Aw, sweet. The chest also contains a filtered face mask designed to cover the whole face. It has complex straps to hold it in place, a breathing apparatus, and lenses that cover each eye. The overly complex designs look like something your friend Bell would make. Alright, we're going to take that as well. You never know when you have to filter out some toxic spores. If I know anything from The Last of Us, that's going to become very handy. In the bottom of the chest, you find a slender iron key with a star symbol on it. It looks important, so you slip the star key into your pocket. So we got the sun key and the star key. Very interesting that we're finding these keys. What are they for? So we can approach the doorway, or we can go to the southwest. I think we're going to approach the doorway. As you approach the doorway, you feel a sense of unease as though the door itself is a malevolent presence. The iron bears the etched symbol of House Deepwinter, a snow-capped mountain with a large, stylized snowflake above and to the left of the mountain peak. Long streaks of rust reach from the cut lines of the symbol down the bottom half of the door, and wispy lichen grows in the deepest recesses of the carving. Inside of a keyhole, the complex lock on this door has a depression that, when filled by a precisely shaped key, will deactivate the lock. We have a lot of options here, none of which we can really do. None of our keys seem to fit the shape of the indention, so we can't do that. Monterey isn't a thief per se, so he doesn't have thieves' tools with him, and it wouldn't do for him to actually try to bash his way through. He's strong, but not that strong. He knows he can't go through an iron gate, so we're gonna have to leave this passage for now. Looks like we're going to have to go to the southwest then. So back to our T-shape area. We've been to the northeast, so let us head to the southeast because we came in from the northwest. You are in a passage extending to the southeast. At the far end, a rough-cut stairway leads up to a doorway blocking progress in that direction. Unfortunately, we can't go this way. A thick mustard-colored mold covers the floors, walls, and ceiling here, coating the entire length of this passage, including the stairway, a stretch of about 50 feet. Wispy spores float in the air like dandelions. We're going to go through the door. We're going to hurry through that passage to the door. Bracing yourself for the worst, you move through the tunnel as quickly as you can. With each step, you hear a crackling as though you are walking over tiny, delicate bones beneath the thick mold. Unfortunately, your steps seem to have agitated the sickly yellow growth, and a thick cloud of toxic spores erupts into the tunnel around you. Because of exposure to toxic spores, we get to make a Constitution saving throw against poison. That is quite a bit of damage, one that we probably won't be able to handle. So let's hope for the best. All right. So Monterey stands in this thicket of spores and other mold that has been growing, and the spores come up. Unfortunately, he is caught unprepared, and he takes a breath of the toxic spores, forgetting about the mask temporarily. Unfortunately, he begins to feel sick, and he feels very, very sick, and he takes quite a bit of damage here. To be continued.